Any advice for how to go from a first date to progressing to more? Realized I fall for girls really quick and trying to not come across too needy.
Yeah, that is a great question, and a classic mistake that guys make is guys tend to project into the future, right? When you find a girl that you like, guys will sit there and they'll fantasize about them being their girlfriend or their wife, and you're one date in, you don't know this person. The problem with that, though, is that it comes off as too strong, too soon, and needy. And if you think about it, what a woman is attracted to, we talked in a previous episode about confidence. But in addition to that is something really important, which is non-neediness. The needier that you sort of come off, it signals sort of unconsciously the wrong things, which is if you're a high status, high value man, quite frankly, you have options. You should have options. And so your job is to select between the best of these options and optimize for a mate that's going to be best for your long-term compatibility. If you don't have options, it's very likely that you're going to cling on to the next best girl that you find. You're going to have one good date, and then you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to wife her up. And that just overwhelms her, because what she's sort of unconsciously or maybe consciously interpreting is this guy is acting like he doesn't have options. If he doesn't have options, he must not be a high status, high value man. And so why am I going to reciprocate in this case, right? So you're sending literally the wrong sort of signals. And that's not to say that you should obviously be disingenuous or playing games, but you need to slow yourself down and say you cannot fall in love with someone on a first date. All you can do is decide, is this person worthy of a second date, and continuing to get to know this person. Now, the reality is, and there's research on this, the amount of time it takes to really get to know someone and make a decision about if they are wife material or long-term partner material is somewhere in the order of 170-ish days, or just about 6 months. So you should just kind of get it into your own head that you need 6 months of regular dating to really understand someone and decide, is this person a viable long-term partner? And so if you can do that, you can just kind of chill, put on the brakes a little bit, and not get too far ahead of yourself and say, I can't even possibly know if this person is worthwhile or long-term material until I give it 6 months of time. So what I'm just evaluating on date number 1 is, do I feel a physical connection, a spark, some sort of chemistry? And that comes a little bit more intuitively, right? You should quite frankly probably know that within the first 5 minutes. I've actually surveyed a ton of women about this, and I asked them, how long does it take you on a first date to decide whether to go on a second date? And I will tell you, the modal answer by far of all the women I've asked is 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. Women are much more intuitive than men. And you ask guys this question, they may say, oh, I need 15, 30, 60 minutes, a couple hours to really decide, because they're sort of caught up in their head. Women do not think in the same exact way. So I would actually encourage guys to be a little bit more intuitive. Take the first 5 minutes and be like, okay, is there a chemistry and spark? Now, the rest of the date is important in the sense that what you're doing is you're sussing out her personality, right? Does she have the personality traits that are beneficial in a long-term partner? Which is, you want someone who's conscientious, you want someone who's agreeable, you're gonna get along well with. And then there's some matching components as well. If you're an extreme introvert, you should be with an introvert. If you're an extreme extrovert, you should be with an extreme extrovert. And if you're somewhere in the middle, obviously try to find someone who's on the same page. You don't need to find someone who's a clone of you or exactly the same, but you cannot be too far apart. The other traits like openness to experience may influence on a more of a macro level your hobbies and interests. If someone is very high in openness to experience, they're very adventurous, they like to go out, try new things, have new experiences, you're probably going to be more compatible with someone who has a similar tendency, even if you don't like the same things. Versus someone who's very low in openness to experience, they like their routine, they like to stay at home, they don't like trying new things. You should probably be with someone who's a little bit closer to that. So these are the things you should be sussing out on the first date, is are we compatible on a personality level? And then the third and very important thing is, are you compatible on a values level, right? Do you have the same sort of on the same page about religion, about politics, about family and children? These are fundamental sort of deal breakers. And I know people say don't talk about religion or politics on a first date. I have a contrarian view. You don't want to lead with it, like maybe not the first 5 minutes, but if you don't know, maybe from an online dating profile and you haven't had that context, it may be useful to casually bring it up, because if it is important to you and you are looking for a long-term partner, it's a different thing. Obviously, if you're looking for just short-term fun, you have to make sure you're not wasting your time, or quite frankly, wasting their time. And if someone's an ardently religious person who wants to raise their children in that way, and you're an avid atheist and you're completely against that, make sure you're those aren't deal breakers. So that's what you should really be doing. Those 3 things on a first date is there physical chemistry and spark? Are you sexually attracted to this person? You want to continue to get to know them? Are you compatible on a personality level? And are you compatible on a values level? And those 3 things you should, put together and decide, do I want to go out on date number 2? Especially because you're not going to even necessarily be able to fully answer those questions on date number 1, unless it's maybe a very long date and you're a very good interviewer. But yeah, it takes time. It usually takes time also for people to open up. It may take, I would say, even 3 to 5 dates to really get a good sense of someone's personality and values, depending on how open they are. If you're kind of a skilled conversationalist and they're an open book, yeah, maybe in 1 to 2 dates, you've got a pretty good sense of that. Other people, they kind of wear a little bit more of a mask on a date. They're presenting their best self, right? Their aspirational self. And so they're not kind of bringing up all their kind of quirks and personality stuff, or maybe they're not talking about the things that are really important to them. So it may take a little bit more time. So with that in mind, you should take the opportunity to use the first couple dates to really get to know them and decide, is this person have long-term potential? Are they worthy of me? Reverse your thinking a little bit, is even though you may like this person, that's fine. You don't need to change that, but you need to be scrutinizing them in terms of, are they the right person for me, right? If you're a high value man, you have options, right? You should have the mentality in mind that you are the catch, right? And is this person qualified or competent, or is she going to be able to add value to your life that is worthy of your time and your energy, of all the options that are out there in the sea? And when you have that kind of abundance mentality and that you're the catch, it's going to come across as confident, it's going to come across as non-needy, and you're not going to scare them away. So you need to kind of change your internal mindset and frame of being the chooser, which will reflect in a way that she's ironically more likely to be able to choose you back. So that's kind of the advice that I would give about sort of first dates. By the way, I love another commenter just commented and said, I think you need to focus on building a life you're proud of, get hobbies, work out, and get skills. That's a great point too, right? In order to have sort of inner confidence, it can't just be totally sort of made up in your head. Confidence comes from a genuine reflection of competence and skills. And so when you have a life that you're proud of, you're busy, you have hobbies, you are fit, you're feeling good, you have skills, you're gonna be able to be more confident. So the caller said, this girl is 2 months out from graduating with a CS degree too. She's also in fitness, reading, dancing, and really kind, just getting way too ahead of myself. Just really excited a bit. She is way out of my league. Most dangerous words of the English language. Never believe that someone is out of your league. Now, maybe there is some objective reality in terms of like physical attractiveness. Like, yes, if you're like below a 5 and she's a 9, she could be out of your league. But I don't think she'd be out on a date with you if that was the case. So you should basically assume that you're within a couple points of each other, at least on the physical attractiveness scale, and she's willing to entertain you. So by definition of her going out with you, you are in her league. And the other thing to remember too is women are unfortunately judged much more for their physical looks. Men are much less judged. It does matter, but quite frankly, we can make it up a lot more with personality, status, money, other things. It's the reality of how the world works. And so, and this is why I think that actually that other commenter's advice was good, right? And if you are a high status male, or you're moving towards it. You don't, if you're, especially you're young and in your 20s, maybe you haven't attained those things yet. But if you're on a positive trajectory and you have that youthful optimism that I am somebody and I'm going somewhere, that confidence is going to radiate, right? And then you're going to think, again, I'm the catch. She's not out of my league. Maybe she's slightly more physically attractive to me, which, by the way, the research shows that those relationships actually do a little bit better when the woman is slightly more attractive than the man. So you should actually just like assume that that's a good thing, if that's the case, but that you're adding value in other ways. Your personality or what you bring to the table is valuable to her. And so you really have to change that mentality of thinking that she's way out of your league, right? You have to have the opposite frame where, again, you're the catch, and what is she bringing to the table? As you said, seemed really easygoing and fun on the first date, but you're kind of putting her on a pedestal, is what I would say. You don't really know this person. And so, she may have some qualities that you're initially attracted to, but until you sort of know the good and the bad, I think you're idealizing her. And this is why I actually say men are the true romantics. It's kind of a contrarian opinion. Women love the idea of sort of a Disney romance, but I think men are the true romantics in the sense that we idealize women, where women are much more realistic about guys. They want to be wooed, they want to be courted, and that can be romantic. But men are the true romantics in the sense that we literally create a fantasy out of our heads, and that you've been on this one date with this woman and you think you want to wife her up. So I would say you got to calm that down. The anxiety that you're feeling in terms of this anxious attached feeling that you're describing is coming from your own sort of psychology, right? In that you're over idealizing her. So you got to calm down and just say, look, I don't know this person, right? You're creating a projection of who she is rather than the reality of who she is. And so just slow down a little bit and be like, so far so good, but I don't know this person. I'm gonna find out who she really is, and I need a couple dates to figure that out. She is not out of my league. I think about all the things that you're bringing to the table that she can bear, and why should she be qualified to go out with you? So you need to have that sort of inner frame in order to be, more effective.